Esther is finally convinced of the great peril facing Klal Yisrael and asks Mordechai to direct the Jews of Shushan to spend 3 days immersed in fasting and prayer, at the end of which she will come to the king. The Psukim then tell us, Vayavor Mordechai, that Mordechai passed over literally and did everything that Esther had instructed him. And there is some discussion in the Gemara as to what exactly the significance of the words Vayavor Mordechai, that Mordechai passed, what exactly that is a reference to. So Shmuel suggests in the Gemara that this is a reference to crossing over a stream of water, which again, based on the understanding of the Ibn Ezra, that there were 2 portions of the city of Shushan. There was Shushan Abira, royal Shushan, capital Shushan, and Ha'ir Shushan, the city of Shushan, that Mordechai is leaving the section of the city where the king's palace is, and passing over the water to the other section of the city. And in fact, we know in the book of Daniel that Daniel, who also had lived in the city of Shushan, references the fact that there is a river, the Uval Ulai, that ran through Shushan. So that would be the way that Shmuel understood what the significance of this concluding pasuk is. Rav, however, in the Gemara understands it very differently. If one looks back at the sequence of dates explicit in the Megillah, Haman's lottery, with its prediction of the date to kill the Jews, takes place on the 13th day of the month of Nisan. That's explicit in the 3rd chapter of the Megillah. Now again, we know the 13th day of the month of Nisan is the day leading up to the night of B'dikas Chametz. It's 2 days before Pesach, and that is when the climactic events of the Megillah actually took place. Based on that, if again the decree goes out on the 13th of Nisan, and then Esther asks Mordechai to go organize a 3-day fast, what clearly emerges from the simple reading of the Psukim is this fast was to take place on Pesach, and ostensibly, therefore, first of all, require the Jews to fast on Pesach, and not to involve themselves in the biblical mitzvah of eating matzah on Pesach. And so according to the way that Rav reads it, the significance of the words Vayavor Mordechai, that Mordechai passed, is, as the Gemara puts it, that he essentially canceled Pesach, whereas Rashi even more blatantly puts it in his commentary on the Megillah, that Mordechai instructed the Jews to transgress, as again the end of the pasuk says, like everything that Esther said. The Midrash in the Midrash Rabbah suggests a fascinating dialogue between Esther and Mordechai, where Mordechai really says, how can we do this? How can we fast on Pesach? To which Esther basically says, O sage in Israel, right, what's going to be if we don't fast, right? If that's the case, if we don't immediately, right, go into this mode of intense tshuva, who says there's going to be a Jewish people to eat matzah next year? And according to this understanding, the significance of the pasuk is to help us understand and have greater insight into this period of fasting. The Jews, who we would imagine were preparing for Pesach the same way that all of us will shortly be preparing for Pesach, were instructed that this year we are going into emergency mode, and that we are giving a special, going into an emergency halachic status, where we are going to ignore the fact that it's Pesach and focus instead on the existential threat to the Jewish people.